So a very common thing when we're training handstands as an adult compared to a child is you have to deal with the safety switch. So basically when we're older, we're not used to going upside down. We're not used to putting lots of weight into our hands. So a lot of people are quite nervous, or they have their body that stops them doing certain movements. It can happen with a kick up, and it can happen with a jump to handstand, where basically your body's stopping you from doing it. Even though you're capable of doing it, you have the strength, you have the ability to do it. But your body's saying, no, don't do it, because it thinks you're going to hurt yourself, or you are actually scared of entering the handstand. Now, this could be freestanding, it could be against the wall, and like I say, it could be a kick up or a jump. So today I'm going to go over some drills, some ideas, some methods to try and overcome the fear of jumping up. Now, obviously, we want to build that strength, build that confidence in the hands before we enter a handstand. So the easiest way of doing it is like a chest to wall position. So ideally I would be in this position, super close to the wall here. Now most people are going to struggle with that when they first start getting into handstands. So one way of doing it is just to have the hands much further away from the wall and leave enough space to reach up with the leg. So I'm going to load the hands first, then I'm going to take one leg up and then the second leg up and stay in that position. So we can build time there, we can build confidence, and then slowly go in a little bit closer. Now, another way to work that is using a box or the sofa. So exactly the same thing. And now I'm just going to hold this position. So I've got more weight in my hands than I do in my feet. I could have my hands closer to the wall or to the box, or I could walk my hands in while I'm there. Now, what we want to really be concentrating on there is loading the hands, loading the shoulders, and building conditioning and strength there, and building confidence to put more and more weight into the hands. Now, another way we can do this is with our warm-ups, with conditioning drills where we're away from the wall. We can do it in a couple of different ways. We can do it in something like a crow position where we're aiming to put 100% of our weight into the hands, but using like a safer position than a freestanding handstand. So with this one, I've got all the way into my feet, and then I'm going to slowly transfer weight into the hands, and I'm going to have light tiptoes on the floor. And if that feels okay, I can lift up and come back again. So it's all about transferring weight from the feet to the hands and back again. I can do that in a like a good morning straddle position as well. So now I have my weight back into my feet. As I come forwards onto the hands, I'm going to protract, push the floor away, come up to tiptoes, and come back again. So just transferring the weight, building the confidence, control, conditioning to load the hands. So I would do a combination of those: the chest to wall version, the box version, the floor version, until you build the confidence up to be able to walk your hands closer to the wall. Okay, now we have the kick up itself. Now the kick up obviously is back to wall. Now a lot of people, when they kick up and they're nervous or scared to go up, they keep all their weight in their feet, so their arms are loose, and then they try and kick, and their body's like stopping themselves. So they'll be putting loads and loads of energy into it, but nothing happens. They get halfway up. So what we want to do to start with is make a very strong base with the hands and shoulders. So I'm going to have shoulders directly on top of the hands. I'm going to pick a focal point somewhere on the floor, and I'm going to try and keep my shoulders and my focal point exactly the same. So when I do that close to the wall, shoulders on top of the hands, I pick that focal point, and then all I'm going to do is a little kick and come back down and make sure that focal point and shoulder position has stayed the same. Once I can do that a few times, my next goal is to get the leading foot to touch the wall, just so I can feel where the wall is. And then we'll just build on that by slowly straightening the leg that's touching the wall, and that should naturally bring the other leg up. So notice how consistent the shoulder was in terms of the placement on top of the hands, and the focal position stayed the same throughout the movement. before I kicked, as I kicked, and then on the way down as well. Now, other options, if I struggle with that, I could use the box again. So this time I have the box here, place the hands down, have the focal point exactly the same as we've done before, but now I have one foot on the box and I step, touch the wall. Now the box is a little bit to the side so it's not in the way, and then I could even step into the handstand there and keep that focal position, shoulder position the same, keep pushing through the hands and try and come down slowly. Now, normally what can happen when we get into the freestanding handstands, exactly the same thing can happen. The safety switch kicks in and we start to change everything. So we can go through those same things. I can go kick up close to the wall. I can keep the shoulder in the same position on top of the hands, keep the focal point the same. And now I'm just trying to kick, come back down and keep that very solid, the base, and just slowly make it bigger and bigger. So what I was practicing against the wall now carries over to what I was practicing freestanding. Now jumps can be very similar. This is what you often see with the jump, is the shoulders on top of the hands. We want that set up exactly the same, but most people set up nicely, but when they're about to jump, they put all the weight back into the feet again, and now when they jump, they tend to jump forwards, which can be scary because you're going to back splat or face plant. So if we keep the shoulders on top of the hands, keep that focal point the same, and now when I jump, this is what normally happens next. So we jump the heels to the butt, but the hips are like locked in position. So what we want to do there is just to try and focus on getting the hips on top of the shoulders without the shoulders moving. That's why you might want to move closer to the wall. So if your butt does go over, your butt touches the wall, and making sure that we keep that strong base and jumping the hips on top. Once we get the hips on top, then we can just throw the legs up in the air on top of that. And then come back down the same way. If I'm doing it against the wall, exactly the same setup. Shoulders on top, make the strong base, don't move the shoulders, don't move the focal position. Jump the hips on top, feet on top of that. On the way down, practicing exactly the same thing. If we really struggle with that, we could kick up, tuck down, straddle down, whichever technique, whichever jump variation you're going for. So the biggest thing is don't scare yourself, don't rush into it. If you're very nervous about entering the handstand, if you haven't done it for a long time, take your time, build the confidence, build the conditioning, build the strength, slowly load more and more. Practice quite often, but if your wrists are getting sore, obviously back off a little bit, but I try and do something daily towards the handstand. So it might be some mobility work, it might be a little bit of conditioning. Just keep an eye on the wrists, go slowly, don't hurt yourself. Stick any questions below, send me any questions. Thumbs up and subscribe will be appreciated, and I'll speak to you next time. Let me know how you go, guys.